So, you were drafted.
I've been drafted 3 times now. The
Okay.
third time I was drafted.
Well, this is a better way to start on, okay?
Okay, I left Elma on a bus with a bunch of guys. from
June of
Elma,
42.
June of 42. Went down to Detroit and had a physical. And I don't know why they sent us all to Custer or Battle Creek right then, because I guess they knew we'd all passed. And we were in the Air Force. It wasn't the Army. The Army Air Force, really. But, and then I took my IQ, mechanical aptitude test, and went to Flint, Michigan, where I had 11 weeks of training on Pratt & Whitney 1480 aircraft engines. And after that I went to Rome, New York, and we were made a group out at Headquarters Squadron. And this group got together and we worked on, I worked on aircraft, engines, parts, and they were shipping overseas.
What kind of engines were you working on?
Oh no, I wasn't doing that type of work. We're loading them and everything.
Oh.
And then I went from there to Rome, New York, to Columbia, South Carolina, to Robbinsfield, Georgia. I went to about 4 or 5 different places.
For engine training.
And we're all in the same group. Now we weren't doing that. We were doing other things. In fact, I went to South Carolina, and Charleston, South Carolina. All we did was full guard duty. And I was just waiting for, or we were waiting for
Oh, you just went to the bathroom or something.
thing to tell us that we had to go overseas. So I ended up in Camp at New Jersey, some big place, and we were there for about 3 or 4 days, and we got on a ship. Went to England. And we went
From
into,
the time you were drafted until you got on the...
it was a year and June, July, August, year and 3 months.
From the time you were drafted till
By
you...
the time I went overseas.
And you went over on ship. By
I
ship.
went over in August of 43. And we landed at the Firth of Clyde in Scotland, and went by train down to Bury St. Edmunds, Suffolk County, and there were the first strategic air depot.
First Strategic Air Depot?
Yep. And there we started working on planes. Well, we found out that everything they told us we couldn't do, because they always said use the right tool for the right job, performance. And so sometimes rather than an A-frame to take an engine off of an airplane, we'd attach the airplane up to a tree and put the scaffolding up on a tree and take their engine off that way. But I worked on engines, and I worked, finally I was driving Jeep, delivering parts to different crews.
There in London?
And we had the headquarters crew, and we're split into 3 divisions: sheet metal and engine repair and stuff, and then engine pre-flight and that sort of thing. And I got in the pre-flight section. And when we would pre-flight these airplanes, and the idea was to take the airplanes after we'd made the major overhaul, to 10,000 feet in 10 minutes without a payload, with only gasoline and oil. And watch all the instruments and make sure it was ready for combat, and would land the airplane and take it back to space, and that's what we did. Well, in the next 2 years, we averaged a plane a day belly landing at that airplane base. And came in they couldn't get the gear down. That before the B-17G. The B-17F, they had to, the only way you could put it down was hydraulically. And then if it got shot out, they couldn't get it down.
And they
Well,
got
then
shot.
they had it electrically and hydraulically. So we didn't have any belly jobs after that. But every time those planes would land, they'd land off we had a metal runway, and land to one side, and when they hit the ground, all 4 props would go bend right under.
Mm.
And then we'd have to pull all the engines, because that would probably throw it out of the ground, and replace them.
So that was the busiest time of your repairing?
Yeah.
Were those,
Yeah.
what were they called?
B-17Gs.
Gs. And they had hydraulics and they got shot?
And electric.
And electric. How long would it take you to fix a plane like that?
Oh, a plane like that would probably take a month. But then let me see, where did we go from there? Well, after a while, they made up a crew, and we went to France well, in the meantime, I was flying along with several other guys, flight engineers. And we'd go to France on a bunch of us in one airplane. We had a plane of our own. We'd take us over there. They'd drop 3 of us off, pilot, co-pilot, engineer. And then we would go get a plane that only had 2 or 3 engines working. And we would try to get it off the ground and get it back.
Mm.
And very, very often we couldn't get enough torque or enough thrust with the props to get it off the ground.
They didn't have a repair station in France? Or?
No, not them. They'd land on these British airfields that under the control of the British. So we'd fly them back that night. And then I got put on a crew. I've got a picture of myself with a whole bunch, about 10 guys. And we were there, and we stayed at a place called Merville. That was a former lodging for priests. And that was then we'd work on the planes over there and try to get them so they'd fly, could take off. And then another 3 guys would come over and take them off.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for a while. And then things got real good. We didn't get many planes, and I had a lot of time on my hands. And I'd put a haversack on my back and bum over to Brussels and all over. And there were rumors that the war was about over.
When was this?
This was when it was VE Day. The date was 44.
That's when
Oh,
things
45.
things started slowing down for you.
Huh?
That's when things started slowing down.
Well, yeah, but there wasn't much to do right then. So, I was going to tell you. I went over, I took a haversack, and I went over to Brussels, Belgium. And I met judge's son on a bridge. And we started talking. He had very good English. And he said, why don't you come over to my house? I said, I'll be in imposition. You know me, your folks will not. He said, my folks will be pleased if you came to dinner. They'd like to have you. He was about 16. So I went over to the house, and he had two beautiful sisters, and I stayed there all night, and we had dinner, and I said goodbye in the morning. They could all speak English. And I went back to my base for this place where we stayed. And I got there and I said, the first sergeant, I said, I was a sergeant, and he was the top guy. He was in charge of everything. I said, I opened up my mail and there was a letter from my uncle. He was at Namur, Belgium, which is south of Brussels, about 100 miles. And I said, my uncle is over here and he's lonely and I'm going to go see him. And he said, don't go, we're going to ship out any day. And if you aren't with us when we ship out, you'll be AWOL. And I said, I'm going to go anyway. So I packed some clean clothes and took off.
And by train? By train?
No, bumming.
From?
GI trucks all over. GI trucks went by every 5 minutes. They'd take you anywhere. So I bummed over to Namur, Belgium, and I met my Uncle Wayne. And I walked in, and he was driving Jeep for an officer. And they were working with displaced Polish people that had gotten pushed over there in the war. And they had 12 men, they had 6 drivers, 6 officers, and 12 maids. And you want to know if I wanted a maid for the night? And I said, no. So, it's a night I'll never forget. He took a Jeep, and he asked the guy he worked for, he needed him that night, and he said, no, go ahead. So, we took the Jeep and drove down the Namur Valley at night, and moonlight out, a beautiful night, and we drove probably 40 miles down this road, and all of a sudden Wayne pulled in, stopped the Jeep, got out and said, come on. I said, where are we going? He said, I'm thirsty, aren't you? I said, yes. He walked over and there's a curtain there. Pulled the curtain aside, and a light kind of blinded, light. Nothing else was there. So we walked in this place and both had a beer. And there's a bunch of Belgiques in there. Well, then I went back and said goodbye to Wayne the next day. I bumped back to my unit, and just as I walked in that night was VE Day. And boy, was everybody happy and drunk. Oh, God. And Pates, a buddy of mine, Pates and Schaefer, called me Frenchy because I spoke French. And Pates picked my locker up, and there's a big window there with a wide window. And we were on the 2nd floor. And he said, we're going home, Carter. And he threw my locker right out the window. I looked down, all my stuff were. And then we took all our stuff and went down to Grand Place. And underwear and shirts and everything was valuable. Shoes and stuff that they couldn't get. Went down there and I acted as interpreter. And there's 4 of us, Jeep driver, 3 of them, had our stuff all in, and the crowd gathered around and we sold it, auctioned it off. And I got so excited, 1000 francs in French is 1,000 francs. So I said, 1,000,000 francs, I was so excited to sell all this stuff. So all of a sudden, the guy said, "Oh, look behind us," and there was a jeep full of officers pulled up behind us, and it's Grand Plaza. And I thought, well, I've had it now. And they started selling their stuff too.
Was that illegal to sell your stuff?
Yeah, I think so. But the Army walked away from entire long strings of 6x6 trucks and said, "The French, there you are."
You left the army trucks right there.
Stuff they didn't want to fight in Europe. So then we went by,
What did you auction off exactly?
what?
What did you auction off that day? What did you auction off that day?
Oh, I auctioned off my nice Garrison cab. I auctioned off everything except my greatcoat. I got that.
Mhm.
And the clothes I had on, underwear, shoes, socks. And we went back to England. Went by, what do you call it? We all get on the trucks. A whole bunch of us.
Caravan?
In caravan. Up the shore. Excuse me. We got off the trucks and got on the ship and went back to England, Southampton. And we didn't have a thing except an overnight bag. My duffel bag was gone and we got back to Southampton. We're supposed to go home. Or we were going to go to the South Pacific, so we were going to go. But we were getting out of there. And all of a sudden, they said, we need a bunch of men to go down to Istris on the Mediterranean, where they'd fly in there and pick up planes, or they'd go up and load these planes with high point men, fly in there, and we gas them up and everything, and they'd take off and go to Casablanca. And they had another group there doing the same thing, and they flew from there to the Azores. And another group picked them up to the Azores and took them home. Well, I was there about 6 months or a year, and that's where I got in that wreck. Terrible wreck.
In the Mediterranean?
Yeah, well, working on this desert.
So you were on a ship ready to go back home, and you were one of the men that had 6 more months.
Yeah, I was low point, see. I had no time flying, and I didn't have many points. So I went down there to work. You want?
Wait.
You focused?
Yep, it's automatic.
The both of us? Now what?
You went down to the Mediterranean in France.
Yeah, and all I wore was shorts and GI shoes. And I worked on these planes.
What's
B-17, gas them. That's all I had to do was gas them up.
Gas B-17? What part of France?
Istris on the Mediterranean. It's a desert. It's a big desert, and they land planes there. And I got just as black, and I got the best tan I ever had in my life. And the dust down there would blow. I had to wear a respirator half the time. And I took this, and a lot of us smoked Prince Edward cigars, because you take a drag on a cigarette and inhale it, and you couldn't even taste it. The strong Chesterfield, the strongest cigarette, you couldn't taste it, you couldn't feel it. So we smoked these cigars and inhaled them, and I liked it. Well, this and Cavagnolo and Avignon are 2 villages up in the mountains near Istris, and where we used to go on leave. And one thing I like to do is take Jeanette and go there or you two, and go there a month or two and get a place to live, and it's so romantic. I liked it.
On the Mediterranean?
And I went into town this night on Liberty Road, and there were 30 of us. We got on back of 6x6 and rode into town. And I drank Calvados and pastis, and I wandered around town and talked to people, and I just loved it so. And I got on this truck to start back to camp, and the driver and the lieutenant who was on charge of the truck had both been drinking. And one of the guys had a dozen eggs. He was holding them like this, right in front of him. He had them in a kind of a little cage, like. He was holding them there. And I said, you got those eggs? I said, you never get them back to camp in one piece if this driver keeps on, because he's going around these curves too fast. This is a mountainous region, and the road was just corkscrew. And all of a sudden, he went around one of these curves, and he didn't make it. And he hit a stone wall. And he went up, the truck went up in the air, and it dumped all of us right over the tailgate, right over the cab, right down into a French garden. And I remembered going over, and my head and feet were going over, and everybody was. Mm-hmm. And I landed in this French garden. And it was soft, you'd colorated, and it was real soft dirt. And all it did was I bruised my head. And one other guy and I got up.
Out of 24?
I'm 30.
30.
One another guy and I got up. And he stood there and I stood there, and it was dark. And I said, well, do you want to go get help? Or do you want to put tourniquets on these people? I said, there's a lot of them bleeding. I said, you can't find them. I said, one of us got to do it. He said, well, I'll stay here. So I said, rip my raincoat out and make tourniquets. So I took it off and handed it to him. And I climbed up this stones and everything, and I got up on the road, and I started, and the cab was, the lights were still going, the cab was like this. The lieutenant and the driver were both dead. They were both in there, and they're both dead. I didn't know they were dead, but I found out later. And I stopped a car. There's a French school teacher and his wife, and I said, take me to the nearest MP post. So he drove me to the nearest MP post, which was down the road about 4 or 5 miles toward camp. And I called, and I had the MP call our camp and tell them we had a wreck. So they sent ambulances out. Well, I'd hurt my head a little bit, and I went over to, I got sick. And I went around to throw up, and I started vomiting. The guy said, don't vomit over down back there. I have to stay here in this cabin or this house. I don't want you vomiting there. So I tried to get away from her a little bit. And I went up and stood there and waited, and the ambulances went by, and they went by for about, well, probably 8 or 10 ambulances. Maybe not that many. But I got in the ride in the last ambulance. And I got in this ambulance, and here was this guy that had the edge. I said, you didn't make it. He said, no, I didn't make it. So I went back, and then they sent me to a rest home down on the seashore. And that's the place where I saw a guy and his wife, or not his wife, his girlfriend, walk on their hands, a full block, side by side, talking.
Their hands and knees or just their
The
hands?
hands, they're walking on their hands,
Feet up in the air.
feet right up there, their legs were bent, but they were walking on their hands. So it was there too that I went swimming in the Mediterranean. And the first time I took off all my clothes and started to walk out, and it was rocks, and they were so sharp that I got miserable. I got down and crawled all along and got out there and swam. And then I went back to England. We did. And then I got on a U.S. aircraft carrier, Champagne, with 5,000 other men. And there's 5 bunks, 5 deep. I mean, 1,000 bunks, 5 deep.
Wow.
And I swore I'd never get seasick again. But one night, I was coming home, about third day out, took us 5 days to cross. And I was on the top bunk, and I always had a flashlight right there. They always turned the lights out at 10 o'clock. They turned the lights out, and the minute they did, I got sick. So I clambered down that little ladder up the front, clambered down the ladder and went over and along the side they had the urinals for you to use, you know, and I threw up the urinal. So then I went to Canterbury, Indiana, and I sat right out there, and it was Christmas, the day before Christmas, and I said, I haven't been home this will be the 4th Christmas. And I said to the guy in charge of the group, I said, I am going home. He said, you are now? I said, yes, I am. I said, I'm going to go home even if I'm not discharged. Well, he said, you'll be AWOL and they'll get you and you'll be in trouble. So I sat right there and cooled my heels until the day after Christmas. And they discharged me and I went home.
How long did you have to sit there?
The day after Christmas, they discharged me.
And you got in?
Well, I've just been there 3 days, 2 days. But see, they all gone home. All the people are processing.
Oh,
So we all had to sit there and had the 4th Christmas away from home. You know, the Army was, for me, was kind of a godsend. I grew up. I had lots of experiences, and I enjoyed most of it. I didn't have any hardships. Always had a place to, always had plenty of clothes, place to eat, place to sleep.
never had fear of death?
Never, never. Because I wasn't exposed. The
Yeah.
closest I ever came to death was the time I hitched that ride with that guy who wanted to check out that A-20, which is an TAC-20. It's a twin-engine, single-tail plane that is real fast and carries light cannons on both wings. And I asked him, you gonna take that plane up out there? He said, yep. I said, can I go along? He said, yep, I need passenger. I said, all right, I'll go. Well, it's a two-man plane.
Was it a fighter?
Well, it's a TAC bomber, but it's a real light, you know. Well, anyway, I went out and got in the nose where the navigator would have sat if you had it in combat. And Fatback, Oscar Hall, a friend of mine, and I'll tell you about him later, he was down outside, he closed the door. But he didn't twist it shut. And I stood on it, because it was a place that was right on my feet. And it was table that was on a piano hinge, you know, swung down. And that was where the guy could keep his navigation papers. So, and this was up. Anyway, he started to take off. He revved her up, went down the runway, he took off, and he raised it up about 200 feet, and I was standing on this thing, and I was looking out like that, and all of a sudden, it fell right off. The door fell off. And my feet went right down through. And I hung on the thing like this. Oh, yeah, but it didn't take me long to get up in that plane. Yeah, the air itself pushed me out, you know. And I took this panel hinge off, and I took this thing and laid it down over the hole, put my feet under it, and I could just see this guy up, flying the plane up there. And I looked up, and he hollered down, he said, "How's everything? You all right?" And I went, "Yeah, I'm all right." So we took it up, and he buzzed every train in England. There was no German planes over there at all then. Wiped out. But that was the closest call I ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And as I say, most of the things I did, I had fun.
What other planes did you take up and had fun in? Or
Well, the first plane, Army plane I ever, Air Force plane I ever flew in was a B-25. And we were at, I was at Robbinsfield, Georgia. And there was a cute little girl down there, and she was the loveliest little Georgia peach you ever saw. And I said, if you hear of any plane going up that I could possibly ride, we were working on planes, you know, doing all kinds of work, sheet metal work and everything. And why, let me know. And all of a sudden she called me over and said, "There's a plane going up right out there." Those two fellows were taking the plane up. So I went out and I said, "You mind if I ride with you?" And they said, "No." So I went up with them. And that was the first Army plane I ever rode in. And I stood right between them. And their seats had handles. They came down, had handles right on both sides like that. And I just grabbed the handles, and they took that B-25 and put the throttle forward, and that plane went so fast that I could just hold myself, you know, on those handles there. That was the first time I ever did that. But, and I never flew a B-17, but I did fly a B-24. 24 landed our base, I don't know why, but
in London or in France?
in England.
Hey.
And we didn't have any 24s in our group. We're all 17. But this guy was the captain and the lieutenant, who were our pilot and co-pilot, all for over a year. Said to Zuger, who was the chief of the line thing, he was master sergeant, and me, he said, "We're going to take up that B-24, and we want you two to go." So we went, and we got up and headed out toward the North Sea, and we got out over the North Sea, and they said, fly, just as we got over the sea, they said, "Fly straight east for 15 minutes and we'll take it over." Because they wanted to call the whole plane over. So I got on a co-pilot, and Drew got on a pilot, and we flew this plane out over the sea. And in 15 minutes they came back and took it over and flew that due west and came right back to where we started from. But it was fun. But that was the only plane that I ever flew. Until I got home, I got my license.
What other planes did you see over there or work on? Were you pretty
Well,
lucky?
we saw P-51s. I didn't work on them. P-47 we didn't work on. The only one we worked on was P-17.
Because you were trained for that engine and. Mhm.
But we weren't trained for the Wright Cyclone engine. We were trained for the Pratt & Whitney. But they're practically identical, you know.
Were you trained to parachute? Did you ever get in?
No, we always had a harness on. We had chest-type chutes. We grab a harness and fasten it. Oh, I'll tell you the story after. And we put the harness on, just grab the chute and throw it in the plane somewhere. And then if you had trouble, you run and grab it, hook it on like that. We never put it on because, and here's why. One day, this guy wanted to go up in one of the planes. And finally, we got him a ride. We said, you go up in this plane so-and-so there, you're going to take it and test fly it. So he went out, and I said, get in the side door. And it'll be hard to open. You have to open up the door and climb in. Because they're already testing the engine, you know, revving them up and so on. So he ran out there, and he had his chute, and he didn't just take his chute and throw it, open the door and throw it in. He thought, well, I can't hold that door very handy, so I'll put the chute on, and I'll throw it in. And he went to he put it on, and he went to pull the door open, and some way or other, he ripped the ripcord. And he and we called him Shadow. He'd never take a bath. He'd never take a bath. Until one time, they took him out and GI'd him with a GI brush. And from then on, they'd say, Shadow, it's about time to take a bath again. He'd go take a bath. So anyway, the wind caught this chute and just took him right across. Oh. And they went out with a jeep, picked him up, and the plane took off.
Did he ever get his plane
I
right?
don't know. Funny though. Now, as I say, my sojourn in the Army was kind of a pleasant thing for me. I met Fred in London, and
Uncle
Frank.
Fred was in the war too?
Fred sure. He was in a half track. He was in that. Standing in that picture, pointing to a man's name. A picture I took of one of those things in markers in Luxembourg. He pointing at the thing. That guy was killed by a sniper, and he was standing about 10 feet from Fred. He was standing in front of that track, and Fred was standing in the rear. They got him, sniper got him. Have you ever seen those pictures of Europe that I took?
Yeah, well, I did the other day.
I wonder if we could put some on video, get some close-up.
You were with Uncle Fred. Weren't they bombing? You were with him in London, weren't you?
Yeah.
And they were bombing London at
Yeah.
that time.
You know, all of us, Fred and Frankie and I hit the floor and crawled under the bed. We were staying at the Marble Arch Hotel, and a buzz bomb hit about a block away. Or 4 or 5 blocks.
Could you hear it? Can you hear those coming?
Wasn't a buzz bomb. It was the number 1 big bomb. What'd you say?
Did you hear it coming? Or did it all of a sudden just... Did you hear the bomb coming?
The whistle.
No.
No, it was just an
And all of a
explosion.
sudden you hear an explosion. They were still dropping some of those But they were petering out. They were hurting them. Just, well, they weren't hurting either. They were realized that they had some competition. And Fred was waiting in for D-Day. And D-Day +7, Fred hit the deck, or hit the shore. And he was in the Battle of the Bulge. And he didn't have a decent meal or a place to sleep or anything for about 6 months while they were. And I used to feel, kind of sorry for him and the combat he was going to see. And he told me he stood up on a hilltop and watched those guys, foot sloggers down there, doughboys, going in with just a rifle. And they were mowing them down. So he felt sorry for them. I felt sorry for him. I was in a Red Cross in England once, and I was taking a shower. The guy came out of the shower, and he had a bullet mark right there, and one on the other side going right through his buttocks. And I said, God, you got a bad hit there, didn't you? He said, yeah. And he said, I didn't know. He said, I've had my leave, and I got to go back into combat now. So it didn't matter if they got hit. You get a Purple Heart and still have to go fight.
Now, your Uncle Wayne, was he the one that went into shock?
He shot, yeah. He was carrying a bazooka, and he was walking on the side of the road, and he went into shock, and he passed out. And it was colder than that, and a tank crew saw him stop, put up the lid on the tank, got out, got he and his bazooka and threw him in. And he thawed out in there, and they sent him to the hospital. And he was in that little town where we were.
Yeah.
Just
What was the name of that town we drove
I
through?
can't remember the name of it.
Somewhere in France.
But he was,
Yeah.
there was a hospital in that town.
Where was he in combat? In France?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he was in the Battle of the Bulge too. And he ended up in this place where I told you he was taking care of a displaced person.
And then was he discharged after that?
Yeah. He was discharged after that. I got home before he did. I had more points than he did, but Vera Archambault Banks, who is the mother of his 3 children, I went to see her. And she was running a telephone office. And she had a little baby. Women overseas about 3 years, 2 or 3. And when he came home, she didn't have any baby. Just his 3 children. So, and I never told him. I never said a word to him. I don't know whether he knew it or not. Of course, he's gone now. But they lived a happy life for years. But finally, wars change things. People get married right in the height of wars, right in the thick of things. You're all so much in love. And after it's over, no love there at all. I'm sure that Ed Miles and I were the same in that respect.
There's too much stress or climatic going
Yeah.
on. Your emotions are all.
When I was in Custer, and then when I was sent to Flint, fine opportunity. So Elaine and I were married. And I never, oh, this, I was gonna tell you, this Oscar Hall. There's a Hall girl running around Detroit somewhere. Hull. A girl who would be, was born in August, or no, was consummated in August. I want to say that. Anyway, we were at this place, this big barracks in Atterbury, Camp Atterbury. No, not Camp Atterbury. This Fort some or other in New Jersey. I said, I'm going to phone my wife and have her come out here to New York. And I'm going to phone the hotel and make a reservation for her. And your wife is in Detroit. Why don't you phone your wife? He said, oh, I couldn't do that. And I said, sure, you could. Yeah, you could. I'm gonna. Because they didn't restrict us to camp. We had New York passes. So he called his wife. I called Elaine, told him about his wife, and she went down and got on a train. Two of them rode out there. They went to this hotel. We went down and met them at this hotel. And then we found out that we were going to ship out the next day. So I met him at this hotel. I remember leaving my room at 5 o'clock in the morning. He left his room at 5 o'clock in the morning. We called him Fat Bag. He was Oscar Hall. He had a shoulder about that wide. He played football. And we went down and shipped over seas, and 9 months later he got a call that he knew before that she didn't have it, that she had a baby girl.
Mm.
Well, then he got killed. He was flying as engineer on a B-17, and we're taking a colonel's shack money back to Ireland. And the B-17 crashed and hit a hill and crashed, and it killed everybody on board. Had the shack money and this Irish girl and pilot and co-pilot and Oscar. And then we had a funeral in Cambridge, England, which is a big place for guys that came back, shot up on planes, and they wanted to bury him somewhere, and they buried him at Cambridge.
Mm.
And down there, big place is this place in Luxembourg. And there's a guy in our outfit by the name of John Lowe, and he was German. His folks talked German. Well, they had German prisoners of war walking or carrying as pallbearers, carrying this Oscar Hall. And they were walking along, and he said, one of them said, "Ein großen Hund." And John Lowe stepped right up. We were at a funeral. He stepped right up and he grabbed him under the shirt and he said, "Say that again, I'll kill you." And the guy didn't say anything, but he understood him. He said, he's a big dog. He was a big man.
Hmm.
But another time, out on the line, a guy had a P-51 he landed it. A friend of his was a pilot and he was gonna check out. Well, this fellow named check out, he took it and he went down the runway and he lost control of it and it came right over in front of our office. I sat there at a typewriter typing and he hit a B-17 and it broke one of the cables, the 17, and like that, and took a guy who I've got a picture of, took his head right off. Then the B-51, that's a Mustang, you know, pulled up to a hard stand, whirled around a couple of times, and sat there, and the guy sat inside, and he couldn't get the door was jammed, he couldn't get the door open, and it burst fire. And it got all, the planes were all afire. I mean, the engine were all on fire. And the fire truck and the guy who was dressed for it went up to the plane. The guy jumped up on the wing and got up to it and reached up to grab, to open it up, and it got so intensive, the fire, that the guy turned around and jumped off the wing and ran, and the fellow, he burned up right like that, just like that, and we all stood there and watched him. Just took a second, or probably 5 seconds. And when they lifted him out of there, he just charged out. He was a second lieutenant. Lots of nights of these planes would come in. They'd come in at night because they'd been up all day bombing. And they'd come home at night to make the run. And they'd go to our base, where the 5,000 men to take care of them, a strategic air depot, because they could fix the plane up there. And the men would land, they'd take them to their own base. You know, the bases all over England, where they keep maybe 9 planes. And not lots of times, but 2 or 3 times, I went out to these planes after they belly landed, and were shot up real bad, and go inside, and the guys would be around in there all shot up. And the insides would be all smeared over with the brains and all. It wasn't fun for them. That was real combat. And that's what Freddie Greenfield did. He was a waist gunner on B-17. I don't know what else I can tell you about.
Tell us how you learned to speak French.
Well, I learned French in school.
Oh, I thought about the little girl.
Oh, well, yeah, that was conversational. I had 2 years of high school French. And I could speak it, you know, pretty well. Some of the words I wouldn't say the way a Frenchman would say them. But I could understand enough to get by. But this little girl and I, it was at Merivale in France. I went down to this bar this night, and I bought a bottle of wine, set it on the table. Frank Garrisnider, or I forget who it was, wasn't Frank, another guy and I. And a little girl came over and I said, comment ça va, mademoiselle? And she said, comment ça va, monsieur? And she's about 7 or 8 years old. I said, in French, I said, do you speak English? She said, petite part, just a little bit. I said, how about teaching me French, some French? She said, bon. So she sat down on my lap, and her mother was a bartender. And I called her mother up and I said, can she have some wine? She said, sure, she wants it. So I poured her a little wine. she sat there and we started talking French. So I started going down there every night. For several nights. She talked French and I talked English. And I'd say, I think I learned Chamisa for sure. And I'd say, qu'est-ce que ça? She said, chemise. Chemise, je pense, it told me it was Chamisa. Well, she said that's in southern France. And I got down in southern France, that's right. It was typical of French.
Different dialects.
It'd be the same language, they'd understand. Oh,
What about the bed bugs?
oh, well, I got notes when I was a flying engineer on these crews, and they dropped they had a plane that well, had 2 or 3 of them there at Lyon, and we got at Lyon late at night, and they would try to fly them in the daytime, so they took us with a 6x6 in the town, and kind of like a Red Cross, and a billet for GIs. And they gave us each a blanket, told us to go to bed. So we all jumped on these beds, just a mattress on one mattress on a spring, And we climbed up on there and pulled the pillow up, no pillowcase or anything, try to go to sleep. And with our clothes on. Because, it was just dirty. It was not clean. And I said or somebody said, the last one in the bunk will have to turn out the light. And the last guy, he turned out the light, got in bed. And we hadn't been in bed only a minute. I said, uh-oh, there's bed bugs in here. He got up and turned the light on. We opened up that blanket, and it was just alive with bed bugs. Just there crawling on them. And we had no place to go, so we just wrapped up real tight in those blankets and went to sleep.
Right back there.
Yeah, the rain went all the way. I can't remember how many crews there. There were probably 6 of us. Oh no, Pilot and co-pilot didn't stay with us. They stayed in some nicer place. There were only 4 of us. There were 2 planes there. The next day we went on. I remember the first time I flew over the mountains to get down to Istres on the Mediterranean. And boy, those mountains are high. And we were about over the Matterhorn, not much. But I always volunteered, every chance I got, I volunteered for duty. Because, where it involved travel, something like that. Now Doug Noble, he's a minister, later, he went to Biarritz. And I always was sorry that I didn't go to Biarritz. He went there and took a course in French.
During the war?
Huh?
When did he do that?
When we were in England. And Doug and my friend Frank Garris, they didn't like each other. They didn't like each other because we found a place called New Cross, where they had 2 daughters and good beer. And we spent a lot of time there.
France or England?
In England, in London. And New Crosses of Road Division of London. And Doug and I found it. Or Frank and I found it. And Frank was real sweet on one of these girls. And she was a lovely girl. And I wouldn't, I wouldn't involve romantically that way. We'd sit around, drink beer and talk. And finally, I took Doug down there. Frank couldn't go one weekend, and I took Doug down there. And Doug got this girl, and he started going with her. The girl that Frank liked. So Frank never liked Doug very much.
Did he bring her back? Was she a war bride?
Well, I don't know. He got married. There's a invitation to his wedding right there in that box.
Is there really?
Yeah. I found it I must have gotten it when I got home. Frankie Costanza came home with me once from Rome, New York. Stayed at my house, my folks' place when I lived in Penrith. I don't know what happened to him. He'd be 75 now if he's alive. Most of them, well, they were run between. I think Frank Garris is 71, 72. He came over later. But I was 21 when I drafted. And a lot of people went in at 18. 19. And I was 25 when I came home.
How long after that did you get married?
Oh, quite a while. Probably a year.
That's
Well, we're married in 47.
2.
2 years later. And you came home and you went to Alma College
No,
for a day?
no, I went to, did I tell you about that? I got a job as a desk clerk at a hotel in St. Louis, Park Hotel, where they had Hess Michigan ducklings. Real famous ducklings. And we had a fella in there, had a crew of 4 or 5 girls who went around selling magazines from door to door. And he was the greatest bullshitter that ever lived. He'd tell me the wildest tales, and I was expected to believe him. So he was standing there one night, and Jeanette came in, and she came over with my car and picked me up. And she went over and sat down, picked up a magazine, started to read. No, she didn't either. She picked up, she picked up a magazine, she kind of looked at it. And he said, "Who's that?" I said, "That's Jeanne, my fiance." He said, "Jeanne?" I said, "Yeah, I found her in Paris." And he said, "When are you going to be married?" And I said, "Oh, 2 or 3 months from now." He said, "She is a beautiful girl." Oh my God. I said, she was in the Wrens, in the French branch, the Wrens in the French army. And I said, she and I fell in love in France and I brought her home. And I told him. And he believed it. And it made me feel so good because he'd been telling me these terrible tales. So I finally went over and said, "Come on, Jeanne, viens avec moi. We're gonna go." So we went. Never told him it. And they were there about a week. And he was in charge of this crew. Well, yeah, that's right. I went back and I worked at the hotel. And then, let me see. I went to work at the sugar factory. And then Jen and I weren't married. And I went over to, I went down and Steve Brown, you know Steve Brown, you heard me mention him. He was John Morgan's salesman. So I went down and I was walking around with Steve. And I said, I wonder if John would mind if I spent some time around the office. Steve said, I'm sure he would. So I went around the office, I saw how they cut stencils, you know. Saw how they typed them and they made them and put them on the machine, run it off and everything. And I said, I can do all that. I can do anything. I can do this. Right here, I could put out a paper like this. I'm going to do it. So I went over to Greenville and I started a shopper's guide. And
Would you buy some equipment?
Yep.
Rent an office?
Yeah, about $500 with my mother. Bought the mimeograph machine. About all I needed without a bunch of styluses and stencils and a whole bunch of equipment. And I went over and started it, and I ran it. I cut the stencils, put them on, ran it off, collated it all myself, stapled 3,000 copies, turned them to the post office, and mailed them. I did that every week. Kept me busy, really humping. So I got it going, and Jeanette did it. The guy that owned the hotel was a millionaire, and he was in St. Louis. His name was Hess. That's where they get Hess, Mr. Golden Ducklings. You know, the big farm out there, it used to be Swift and Company. Well, he called me over one day. He was sitting in the lobby of the hotel, and he called me over and he said, are you going to marry that sweet little thing that you got running around here? And I said, yep. He said, why don't you do this? He says, why don't you get married, and my wife and I'll stand up with you. And then my wife and I are going to take a 6-month to a year trip throughout the United States. And your wife can go along to help my wife. My wife's ill, she got cancer, and she got about 6 months to live. And he said, and you be my driver. I said, gosh, a good idea. Good idea. So I went to that and I said, I told her all about it. She said, oh, that sounds good. And I said, yeah, it does. She said, no, I can't do that. She was going to college. So I eventually went over to Greenville and started the paper. So then October, what, 10th? When's that anniversary?
Yeah, 10th, isn't it?
It's the 10th to the 13th.
Is it 10th of October?
I think so. 47. It's either the 10th or the 13th, I can't remember.
I can't. So many things happened on the 10th. First shoppers you got ever from Carroll, the 10th of October. Of course, that's a good time of year to start, you know. Well, anyway, Jeanette, I had an old car. The only way you make the wipers work is to go like this. So I went over to the farm on Saturday morning and got Jeanette and brought her over to Carroll. Oh, we didn't stop in Greenville. Went round through Grand Rapids. Virginia and Leo lived there. We left our car and they took us down to the railroad station. Well, we stopped in Rockford on the way and got married. just outside of Grand Rapids. And the minister was really old. And I went next door and got a woman for a witness. And we kind of helped him along with the words on the service.
Did you?
Yeah. He didn't, Brown, I think his name was Brown, wedding thing. So I went over to Grand Rapids. Leo took us down to the train station, drove back to his house and left it. He had the car. And we went to Chicago on a honeymoon, a 1 weekend honeymoon. So we were in Chicago and we ate Hess, Michigan ducklings on the train. I remember that. Went down there and there was a dozen red roses from my mother and dad in our room when we got there. And we came back to Greenville and we were there. I kept the shopper's guide going all that year, all the next year, and up until Christmas. Christmas issue I quit. Only could get 12 pages. And I couldn't make only about 100 hours a week now. So I quit that and we started looking for another town. And Leo and I came over to Carroll and Harold Hyde. One of the first people we went in to see was Harold Hyde, because I knew his cousin or brother over to Carson City. Because his name was Hyde, and I knew of him,
Was this a farm?
Yeah, farm dealership, or farm equipment. And Harold said, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to have a shopper's guide. And I told him what I plan on doing. He said, we've got one. I said, the hell you have? He said, no, we've got one. Comes out every week. I said, my gosh, you sure? I certainly am sure. So Leo and I jumped in the car and went back to Elmo. All done. And I got to thinking about it, I thought, I was a fool. Why didn't I go get a copy of it at least? So I came back over. This was a fellow that was a cripple. He was a young man, and he typed up, he had a neighborhood letter. And he'd been to Herald for advertising. And that's why he thought the guy put out about 10 copies of them down the street. So in the meantime, I went to Holt. In the meantime, I'd gone to Holt and worked at a newspaper down there. Oh yeah, for a whole year. And then and after that, let me see, I had another job. That's when Jeanette worked for a dentist in Lansing. And she worked for the dentist, Sorensen, in Greenville, Remember Sorensen, when we were down to Texas? We had a party, and Sorensen was there. He's dead now. But she went down with him. Worked for him in Greenville. Then I went from Holt. Yeah, went from Holt right to Carroll. I found the 500 South Elmer, that empty place. Found that to live. Found a little place down the little hotel to start an office. Put it in and went around, told everybody what I was going to do. That took about a week or two. And I tried to pick them that and ad at the same time, and I did lots of time. I started with 8 pages. I went to 10 pages. I went to 12 pages. I went to 14 pages. Well, in the meantime, I'd gone in to see Jim Gallery, the guy who owned the paper. And I told him the same thing I told everybody else, that I wanted to start a shopping guide. I said, this isn't going to hurt you a bit because it'll just make people more advertising conscious. He said, Mr. Carter, you don't frighten me a damn bit. So I thought, I've got a perfect ally there to help me start my paper. Because I couldn't do a thing he wasn't mad about. He went down talking to me all the time. When Dick Howard came to town, he went over to a Jim Gallery and told him what he wanted an ad. And Jim said, well, you won't need a very big ad, probably a 1 column, 10 or something like that. He said, but that little guy over across the street, he'll try to sell you a full page. So I started and I mimeographed it, and then all of a sudden I heard about, oh no, that was over in Greenville. All of a sudden they started talking about offset. So I bought a big old 2066 offset press. And then when I got to 20 pages, Stan Miller, I hired him. And I ran it. And
So you started off good. You made a profit right
Yeah.
away.
profit from the first, I paid my mother my $500 back within 3 weeks.
You did good.
And every week I'd go out, the paper came out on Thursday morning. I'd walk right down the street. I'd go into the store and say, that'll be $16.80. You had a full page this week. That's what a full page cost, $16.80. And I'd tell every one of them, I've got to have the money. I need the paper for next week, and they won't deal with anything but cash. So if I'm to survive, I've got to get the money every week from everyone that advertised with me. I spent all day Thursday doing that, every day, every week. And there's a fellow named LeBlanc who had a plumbing shop. And I'd collect from everybody and wait and see him last. And right beside him was a beer garden. And I'd collect from him, put it in my pocket, go in, and we'd go in the beer garden and have a couple of beers every week. Leo LeBlanc. So, and Jeanette cut stencils, and she was good at it because she was artistically inclined anyway, you know. She'd drawn and taken courses in art. So, and I went up to 16 pages, and boy, I made a lot of money. And I always put it right back in. When I'd hire somebody, I'd wait until I'd hire them when I had enough income to support it, you know. And just step by step, I built it up. And then Jake Masters came over to go pheasant hunting. And Jake came in to me, he says, what do you make a week off that Shopper's Guide? I said, I don't make anything, I just leave everything there, just take enough out to live on. He says, you know, you're a pretty talented guy, you could make more money working for somebody else. I said, I can't work for somebody else. I want to work for myself. And he said, no, you're making a mistake. You end up with more money in the long run if you go to work for somebody else. And he said that to me every time he saw me for 15 years. Anyway, I kept right on. But I don't think I could have. It was pretty good.
You wanted to work for yourself,
Yeah.
your own boss.
Yeah, I like the business. I like talking to people. And I knew every businessman in town. Even if he didn't advertise, of course, I knew him. But eventually, most of them advertised. But a lot of them didn't. You know, I went into Sam Harris once. He ran the gamble store. I said, Sam, where do you get your results? In the advertiser or in the shopper's guide? He said, I get far more results with my ad in the shopper's guide. I said, you run a quarter of a page in the advertiser, which is equivalent of a full page in the shopper's guide. And you run a quarter of a page in the shopper's guide, which is about that big. And you run that big an ad in the advertiser. Why, if you believe that, why do you do it? He says, because you are making too much money. Can you imagine him saying that?
You just didn't want to
I thought right then,
come up.
I thought that's and he went to work for Bill Jenks later. And, you know, Jenks owned the dress shop across the road. And Sam was his manager. And he didn't lots of gambles. But a lot of people I knew well wouldn't advertise that thing. You know, one that wouldn't was Howard Bell, the guy that grabbed the rod out of your hand at the time. Got a big fish on him. We were out on his boat out in Saginaw Bay.
I don't remember.
You had a rod and you caught a fish. And it was a good one. We were pulling the line right down. The tip was right over. You were having a lot of fun fighting that fish. And Howard said, hey, you're going to lose him. Grabbed it out of your hand. Last time I ever went fishing with him. And I had a first and last. That's where these kids get. That's where Jace gets his desire to go fishing.
Yeah, probably.
Hey, let's turn that thing off.
We gotta get these guys to bed.
In my house, no woman telling me what to do. Give out the shoes, she needs shoes.